Okay, so there's basically one thing that I want us to think about tonight, and it's this: live as servants of God. So that's the heart of it: live as servants of God. Now, the idea of serving others, serving other people, is just not a popular one, because you and I want to live for ourselves. We do not want to live for other people. So we want to live for ourselves. We want to use money that we have in the way that we want to do that. We want to use the time that we have in the way that really suits us. We want to use our abilities and our talents and our possessions, all that we are and all that we have, in a way that's going to please us. You could say that each of us in this room is curved in on ourselves. So we're centered in on ourselves. The idea of serving others just doesn't come easily to us. Let me just give you two reasons why it is that you should think seriously about serving others. Okay, so here's the first reason. First, God is our creator. So God is our creator. He created the world. He created you. He created me. And he gives us our food. He gives us our clothes. He gives us our friends. And he gives us life. The only reason why you are here in this room, in this hall tonight, is because of God. There's no other reason. It's simply because of God you are here tonight. So he is our creator. But the Bible also says that God is our rescuer, or at least he is our rescuer if we are a Christian. Now, there's some guys who are here tonight who are not yet Christians. But if you are a Christian, then God is our rescuer. And Peter writes this: you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. So what has God done for his followers? God has called you out of darkness, that's another description for sin, into his wonderful light. You've received mercy. You've been forgiven totally for all the things that you have done wrong. Let me just remind you what a Christian is. A Christian is somebody who owns up, if you like, who admits to God that they are a sinner. And when I use the word sinner, I don't just mean all those things that we do wrong, although certainly that's part of it. But I mean just slapping God in the face. So what happens is that God reaches out his hand. He wants to shake my hand. He wants to be my friend. But I turn my back on him. And I just don't want his friendship. Even though he made me. Even though he's shown his love to me by sending his son Jesus to die on the cross, I just simply don't want to know him. So somebody who is a Christian is somebody who owns up to God about their sin. But also they believe that Jesus bore their sin on the cross. So when Jesus died, he wasn't just dying to be a kind of hero. Jesus died to take your penalty, the penalty that you deserve to take for turning away from God. If you like, instead of you being judged at the end of history, Jesus said, no, I will take that judgment in your place. And then the Christian is somebody who counts the cost of being a Christian, because being a follower of Jesus today, and it's always been the case, has been really, really tough. So if it is that you're not yet a Christian and you become a Christian during this week, then you will find that following Jesus is really tough. And if you're thinking about becoming a Christian, then you need to count the cost. And then a Christian is somebody who actually takes action to follow Jesus. We literally decide to follow him. So instead of going our way, we turn back towards God, we face him, and we shake his hand, and we live for the rest of our lives for him. You can't be born a Christian. No one is born a Christian. You have to take action in the light of all that God has done for you. So those are just two very good reasons why it is that God has a right to own us, why God has a right to possess us, because he made us in the first place, and also because he rescued us. Now, some of us here will have a really twisted idea of what God is like. So some of you will think that God is a kind of law enforcer, a bit like a policeman with a baton ready to thump someone. Or perhaps you see God as a kind of strict teacher, who's just very, very distant and unapproachable. Or maybe some people see God as a very harsh, unjust judge. Or maybe a cruel, distant father. But none of those pictures of God are right. Instead, what we do is we look at God in the light of Jesus Christ, and immediately we know that he is good and he is loving, almighty powerful, but good and loving. Which is why if you talk to any Christian today, you will discover that a Christian serves God willingly. Because they love him. Because of all that Jesus has done for them. Okay, so basically 5 words. Live as servants of God. But what does that look like? Which brings us back to our passage. And I'm going to talk about, over the next probably 5 or so minutes, the servant square. The servant square. A square has 4 sides to it. And this is what it looks like to be a servant of God. Here's the first thing. Show proper respect to everyone. Gary's put that up on the screen there. Show proper respect to everyone. And that literally means honour everyone. Now you have been around, all of you have been around long enough to know that we live in a world that always looks after number one. I saw an advertisement the other day in a magazine that said this: I love me. I am not conceited. I'm just a good friend to myself. And I like to do whatever makes me feel good. It was actually an advertisement. And they were saying, therefore, because you want to do things and it's right to do things that make you feel good, therefore buy this product because it will make you feel good. Our rights are very important to us. One guy who was writing about rights, he listed 37 rights that we should all enjoy, and one of them he wrote down as this: I have a right to dignity. I have a right to respect. But you see, Peter comes along and he turns that totally on its head. Instead of demanding to be respected, he says, show respect to others. Show proper respect to everyone, even if they don't respect you. You and I are always tempted just to look down our noses at other people because someone is younger than you, because someone is older than you, perhaps many years older than you, and you think that they're just cast aside by that. Or perhaps you look down your nose at someone because you just know they're unpopular, because you know they have no friends. They're just a nerd. They're just not cool. They just look ugly. And they're a bit dim and basically they smell. But Peter says, show proper respect to everyone. Show proper respect to everyone. Because everyone is made by God, in God's image. And listen to this, because this is a wonderful thing to be reminded of. Because everyone can be forgiven their sin. Now, I don't know whether you're a Christian yet or not, but everyone can be forgiven their sin. When Jesus died for the worst sin of the worst sinner who ever lived. So, from God's perspective, there is no one in this room who is beyond the pale. There is no one in this room, from God's perspective, who is worthless. No one is outside the scope of God's forgiveness. Peter says God is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. So show proper respect to others, because actually that's exactly what God does to you. He made you and he sent his right.